Well, here we are. It is time for the next monthly Q&A, and not only is it the next Q&A, but somehow it is already the 8th Q&A of the year, which means that it is officially August. I don't even know we're 2024 yet. Well, like, we just gotta get through this month, and then next month, it's Green Day month. Wake me up. I'm not even gonna keep singing that. I'm sorry, I can't sing to save my life. And then we got Spooky month, Turkey month, and Christmas tree month. But anyway, as always, if you want to be featured in one of these Q&As, either just keep your eyes posted up over on the community tab, because I always post up over there about half a week to a week in advance before I do one of these, then you guys kind of have enough time to leave your comments there, or just join the Discord server, because I'll let you guys know literally immediately as soon as anything is happening over there. As always, we're gonna kick things off with the Discord questions. So the first two coming from What the Flip Man are, what's your favorite or one of your favorite foods? I'd probably cereal, just because it's such a diverse food, right? You got chocolate cereals, fruity cereals, you know, like a maple waffle or pancake cereals, cinnamon cereals. Like, the amount of cereals that are out there is literally endless. There's birthday cake cereal, Great Value brand even has like a cotton candy cereal. I've literally eaten cereal for breakfast every single morning for the last 3 years now, and I have no plans to change that literally ever. The next question is, if you could be any character from an anime, video game, or other media, who would you be? So since there's like such a wide range of characters in that question that could be answered to, like, you know, like when it comes to like anime versus video games versus other media in general, like there's so many different kinds of characters and character types. So I'll actually kind of break it down and just kind of give you like specific characters for each kind of art form there. So first I'll answer for anime, and if I could be a character from any anime, it would definitely be Goku. Now I know that probably sounds like such a basic answer, but think about it, like through Dragon Ball, through Dragon Ball Z, through Super, and then, you know, you got like GT if you want to count that. You know, it's technically not canon, but still, and then you got the movies and everything like that. Like, tell me a time where Goku has it. I mean, there has been times where Goku has temporarily lost, but in the grand scheme of things, even if he loses the quote-unquote battle, he always wins the war. Not to mention just how insanely strong and just awesome and full of skill that Goku is. Like, let's flash back to original Dragon Ball when Master Roshi initially was like, the Kamehameha will take you 50 years to learn, and then Goku was there like 50 years, and then he just went onto that car and he was like, Kamehameha. Next thing you know, he just blew the car up, and that was it. And then if I had to be any character from a video game, I would say Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil 4 specifically. I mean, any iteration of Leon is awesome, but Resident Evil 4 especially, between the awesome bangs, the one-liners, just how badass he is. Like, come on, man. Leon Kennedy is just... That's like peak male. I also always loved his portrayal in Resident Evil 6, because you could tell he was just kind of like, you know, like the battle-hardened Leon, but he was like still just super badass there. And then if I could be a character from any other media, we'll just say TV shows, I'd want to be SpongeBob, straight up. Like, dude, he's never depressed. I mean, I know there's been some episodes where like he's sad, or he kind of goes through like his phases of depression where he's like sitting inside. He's like, look, these are my friends, with like a napkin, a penny, and a potato chip. But otherwise, like 99% of the time, he's always happy, he's loving life, he's never depressed. It's just him chilling in his pineapple with his homie Gary. Like, that, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, the only thing that would be lacking in that kind of life would be video games, honestly. So, like, you know, if maybe SpongeBob could get a couple Xboxes, PlayStations, and a few Nintendo consoles in there, then, you know, then that would be, like, the ideal life right there. But still, regardless, like, he's always happy, and he has everything. Like, that is a life that I would love to live. The next question comes from Trank, and he says, if you had to recommend someone 5DS/3DS games, what would they be? So, these aren't gonna be like my 5 like top of all time recommendations, like these are my top 5 favorite, or these are the top 5 I would recommend anybody, because like, you know, I feel like if I were to do that, it would probably come down to some of the obvious ones. Like, you got some of the Zelda games there, like Phantom Hourglass, for example, or like New Super Mario Bros. DS, or Mario Kart DS, and it just kind of falls into that category there. So instead, I'm going to kind of point towards like 5, I guess, like underrated, or just 5DS/3DS games that I don't hear people talk about as often, it seems like. So when it comes to DS, and again, these are just gonna kind of be like random off the cuff recommendations that I'm making here, but for the first one, I would say Thor: God of Thunder for the DS. So there was a Thor: God of Thunder game back in the day that was released for like the Wii and the 360, PS3, and even like iOS and stuff, but the one that was released on DS specifically, not 3DS, because there is a 3DS version, I'm talking DS, base DS. It's like a 2D action action, slight RPG, brawler. Like, it is so much fun. Like, if you love classic beat 'em ups, it's like that, but it's a bit more in-depth with some of the combos and stuff, and I wouldn't say that it's like an overly challenging or difficult game, but it's definitely not a game you can just like button mash your way through. It'll definitely take a good bit of skill and learning to actually get through the game successfully, so that one's really good. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions is another one that I always point to as being such an underrated game for the DS, because rather than the other iterations of Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, that game was just like an entire thing in itself, right? You had like levels that you were going through, and it was just a very like 2000s, 2010s type of game right there, just going level to level, beating up enemies, defeating bosses, going on to the next level. Whereas the DS version specifically was a 2D Metroidvania, and it is honestly one of my favorite Metroidvanias of all time, and I've played a lot of Metroidvanias, probably literally hundreds I would definitely say probably hundreds at this point, especially in recent years. I've been going through and playing a lot of Metroidvanias. There's just something about that gameplay loop of starting the game out with nothing, and staying in the same general area or areas, or returning to areas later in the game, and, you know, getting more abilities and finding new ways to interact with the areas. And I love that gameplay loop. But yeah, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions on the DS is still one of my favorite Metroidvanias that I've ever played. Another one I would highly recommend is Scribblenauts. So if you've never played Scribblenauts before, essentially what it is, it's a game where you can type in anything and it will just spawn in. So say you want to spawn in, I don't know, a dog, a policeman, a fire truck, and a gun. You just pull up the notepad, type those things in, and then once you get the gun, you're free to shoot the cop, the dog, and the fire truck. What's that I hear you say? A gun isn't enough? That's okay. I've spawned in rocket launchers too. Your imagination is the limit. Well, okay, but look, the game isn't like mature rated, so there is limits on things. You can't call overly explicit items by any means, but there's still a lot that you can do, a lot more than I would have expected. My next recommendation would be Final Fantasy III. Now, this is actually the first time that Final Fantasy III was available in America, outside of obviously like imports and, you know, fan translations and stuff like that. And there may be some confusion because you may be like, oh, Final Fantasy III was already on the SNES, but if you don't know the history there, Final Fantasy III on the SNES was actually Final Fantasy VI technically, so if you don't know about it, just kind of do your research there. But Final Fantasy III, the actual Final Fantasy III, yeah, the one on DS, it is a 3D remake of Final Fantasy III, and again, it was the first time that it was available in America. Obviously, it has been re-released in other ways since, like, namely, for example, recently, the Pixel remasters on the Nintendo Switch, but that 3D remake, there is a lot of charm there, and by extension, another RPG I'll mention, which will be my fifth recommendation, is Chrono Trigger. Obviously, Chrono Trigger on the SNES or the PS1, either way you play it, is a classic RPG, but they also made a version for the DS, which some people look at as actually being the definitive version. For me, the version I replay all the time is still the SNES version. I've played all the versions since there's, you know, like merit and charm to all of them. Like, for example, the PS1 has the anime cutscenes, but it also has longer loading times. Chrono Trigger on SNES is just the base experience, and then DS also has some of its own goodies there, along with having some, you know, cool additions in there that were able to be added since you have two screens on the DS. Really, no matter how, like, what way you want to play Chrono Trigger, there's no wrong way to do it, but doing it on the DS is a great way to do it, and some people even look at that, as I said, as being the definitive version. So there you go. There's 5 DS recommendations. Now, if I can move on to 3DS, okay, now there is a lot of games I could recommend for the 3DS, because there was a lot of amazing games that were released for the system. So one that I'm gonna just say, like, right off the cuff is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon. This is a very old school 2D Metroidvania, and this is a prequel to the game Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, which released on literally everything under the sun, you know, Switch, PC, PlayStation, Xbox, etc. But the Curse of the Moon, as well as Curse of the Moon 2, are just absolutely amazing 2D Metroidvanias that really call back to that classic style, like old school Symphony of the Night, and even like going back as far as like the NES Castlevanias. Like, it's such an amazing game. The next game that I'm gonna go ahead and recommend is Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. Out of any of the Arkham games, you know, there's a lot of times where people be like, oh, the Arkham trilogy, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. Then there's some people who are like, no, it's like a quadrilogy of games. You got Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, and Arkham Knight. But, you know, a lot of people, even the people that try to defend Arkham Origins, for example, even they end up forgetting about the fact that Arkham Origins itself had a spin-off called Arkham Origins Blackgate, which was made available on a lot of different systems over time, you know, on the Vita and the 3DS and the, you know, Wii U and Xbox 360 and all that. But, you know, obviously it was released for the 3DS, and you were asking for 3DS recommendations, so we'll focus on that here. And it's basically like, it's a semi-3D, it's kind of 2.5D, mostly more like 2D though. 2.5D version of Arkham Origins. It's not like the exact same game, like one-to-one. It's a completely different game, completely different experience, but it definitely is is Arkham Origins, a lot of the same assets and art style and characters and such, but it is genuinely such an amazing game, and it's also not overly long either. You could easily knock it out in a day or two, but it's a lot of fun, a lot of great exploration, combat, and it's a very underrated one, and it's definitely one where I feel like the less you know, the better. Just the same with all the other Arkham games, just because, you know, even though the Arkham games, there is a lot of really fun gameplay there also is a lot of story, and just a lot of the fun comes from just experiencing the game for yourself and finding out all the cool little things, whether that be certain abilities or things that you'll find throughout the game and villains that you'll fight. So yeah, another one I can highly recommend right there. Two games that I'm gonna bundle together right here are Dragon Quest VII and Dragon Quest VIII. These games on the 3DS are one of those things where it's like, yes, obviously they were released previously, but just seeing them on the 3DS, man, it is genuinely mind-blowing. And similar to Final Fantasy, you don't have to worry about playing all the previous entries before diving in with, say, like Dragon Quest VII or Dragon Quest VIII. If Dragon Quest VII, for example, would be your first Dragon Quest, you would be absolutely fine jumping in there. There's plenty of RPG series that kind of do that, where it's like, yes, it's a new numbered entry, but it's standalone for the most part, and, you know, even if some of the characters do return, you're still able to understand the story from beginning to end with little to no hiccups, so you'll be totally fine there. But Dragon Quest VII and VIII, those are other ones I'd recommend. Another super underrated game that I would recommend is Yokai Watch. This is essentially like Pokemon, except it's yokai. So if you're into Pokemon, I definitely recommend giving Yokai Watch a shot. And even if you've never played a Pokemon game before, I could still recommend playing Yokai Watch, because it is still a great like monster collecting game in that same vein. It isn't like a one-to-one of Pokemon, but it's still some of the similar elements, just like with the monster collecting and exploration and stuff like that. So that's another great game right there. So much charm. I love the little like creatures in the game. They're so cute. And then for my final recommendation, I'm gonna go ahead and bundle two more games together, those being Monster Hunter 3 and Monster Hunter 4, because seeing both of those games running on a 3DS is just one of those things where you're looking at it and it's just like, holy crap. And like, furthermore, like, I would recommend just looking into all of those like console type ports or remakes that were made for the 3DS, whether that be like Metal Gear Solid or Splinter Cell, because there was so many just mind-blowing conversions to the 3DS where it's just insane actually seeing it in action. But Monster Hunter is still one of those where, you know, I still have my same save on my 2DS from back in the day, and I hop on it and play, and it's just like, it's just mind-blowing playing Monster Hunter and having it work so well despite the fact that you don't actually have like two analog sticks. Now I realize we're pretty far into the video and I'm taking a while to get through some of these, and we still have a while to go, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the pace just a little bit here, because the last thing I need is for what happened last night to happen again, where my camera starts running out of storage while I'm recording. So the next question coming from Shira, who asks, I get to include my question this time. Yeah, unfortunately she didn't get to include her question last time. So the first one she asked from last time was, what is your favorite type of pizza and how has life been for you recently? So my favorite type of pizza is Supreme Pizza, but my second favorite type of pizza, which is really controversial, is Hawaiian, aka ham and pineapple. But yeah, I just had to throw that in there just to cause a little bit of controversy. But seriously, yeah, my favorite pizza is definitely Supreme, just a combination of flavors, just chef's kiss, so good. If I wasn't so allergic to dairy, I would love to have Supreme Pizza again. And as for how life's been, you know, it's just been life. You know what I mean? I wake up, I work, I play video games, I go to sleep, and couldn't ask for anything else. You know, I live a simple life just because I like to live simply. It's just, I'm a lot happier that way, just living a simple life. No stress, no drama, no friends, no people, just me, myself, inside of my circle, my bubble. It's the happiest I've ever been, it's the happiest I ever will be, and I'm just, you know, everything's going pretty great. And then her next question is, what's a secret hobby you have that you haven't seen anyone else talk about that you really enjoy? Ooh, wow, that's actually a really good one. So I don't know, because like my hobbies, I mean, like I love reading manga, I love watching anime. I'm just gonna run through my hobbies real quick, and if any of them sound weird, then you can like go ahead and stop me. I like reading manga, I like watching anime, I like drawing and coloring, I like playing video games, I like watching TV shows and movies, I like making YouTube videos. I guess one secret hobby I have, or like one more low-key hobby, is I really like photo editing, but not even just specifically photo editing, but like analyzing colors and like color correcting. And it's okay, you know what, actually no, the more I talk about this, the more I realize just how strange this hobby or obsession of mine is. So like when I'm making my thumbnails, I have this strange, and not even just my thumbnails, but just analyzing other people's thumbnails on YouTube, for example, or just pictures in general. I always wonder, or I always like to tinker and just see like, how can I make this look better? How much do I have to saturate the image? How much do I have to crank up the contrast, or adjust the brightness, or the shadows, or the highlight levels, or get into the nitty-gritties and adjust like certain saturations of certain colors within the image? What backgrounds should be blurred? What elements should be blurred? What needs to be taken out? How can I alter that? Actually, yeah, the more I talk about this, the more I realize that this is definitely something that not that many other people even do or think about. But yeah, that literally happens like anytime I see an image, period. I just start, it's probably just because I make a lot of thumbnails for YouTube. So I'm just thinking like, how can I make this better? So that's probably my one weird like or secret hobby or obsession that not as many people know about or even share. The next question comes from Hardcore Alex, who asks, what game do you has the best game mechanics? Now, that is a hard one to answer because there's so many different kinds of game mechanics. We have 2D platformers and their sets of mechanics, and then we have FPS games with their sets of mechanics and RPGs with their sets of mechanics and balancing. So, in general, I'm just gonna narrow this down and narrow down to a very specific mechanic inside of a game. And for that, I'm going to say water mechanics and just like, I guess like visual audio feedback mechanics and just the way that all of it kind of plays together between the way the game looks, feels, and sounds. And that is going to be Power Wash Simulator. I don't know what it is about that game, but there's something about, especially when you play it on like a PS5 and you have like the adaptive triggers like kind of resisting you as you pull back on the power wash hose thing, and then you have the look of the dirt like slowly getting washed away, but the way that the thing that you were spraying still stays wet for a little while, then you see the dirt kind of like trickle down, and then you have the very realistic sounds of the water depending on like what kind of material that you're trying to wash at the moment, whether that be like a brick wall or like a wooden fence or something like that. Like, if you think I'm being sarcastic or joking, like I'm serious. Like, put on some headphones, turn on surround sounds, and then just when all of it's coming together, like the mechanics of the water and the way everything again looks, feels, and sounds, it's just so good. The next question comes from Human, who asks, are you into art like doodling? I am. I've actually posted some of those things up on my Instagram, and I don't post on Instagram literally at all anymore. But I have been drawing in my free time, so I have a lot stockpiled up, so I'll have to go through and post some of those up over there just so you guys can actually see that stuff. I also tend to post that stuff up over on the art channel in the Discord server, so if you want to see more of my stuff, you can join the server and see that stuff there. Again, I haven't posted there in a while though, so I'll have to do that again soon. And then he also asked, what's your plans for Elden Ring DLC? Don't believe I've seen you mention it. I already completed the DLC when it released, and I'm not going to go too deep into it here, but I kind of stepped away from making Elden Ring content just due to the fact that it was bringing a lot of weird energy to my community. Not due to the Souls community in general, but just due to the toxic elitists in the community, and you know, my content tends to appeal to a younger demographic, not all of them exactly being of, you know, like adults or whatever. So bringing that kind of toxic energy into a community that generally appeals to a lot of younger people in general just kind of feels weird. I don't want to be the one responsible for introducing such young people to such toxicity and negativity on the internet. Again, it's nothing against the Souls games or the Souls community as a whole. It's just the toxic crowd that making that kind of content tends to unfortunately bring into not only the comment section of my videos, but also the Discord server in general, as well as some creepy people in that community that ended up trying to stalk me and others in my server, and that was like a whole thing where I almost had to get the police involved. But anyway, moving on. His last question being, and do you agree with me putting egg in my grilled cheese? Yes, that actually sounds delicious. Put a sausage patty in there too. Trust me, it'll be absolutely delicious. The next question comes from Lilithix, who asks, what would you consider your greatest YouTube achievement to date, and what goal do you have for the next year to 2 years? So my greatest YouTube achievement to date would be hitting 1 million total channel views. That's just one of those things where I look at my channel views and it's still just insane because we hit that a couple months ago, I believe, and yeah, it was a couple months ago at this point, and I remember just sitting there and seeing that, and it was like, I've peaked as a human being. Like, I mean, obviously it's not like 1 million on just one video, like it's across every single video, but that's still like 1 million channel views. Like, that is just insane to me. So seriously, you know, as always, not to get too mushy-gushy here, but from the bottom of my heart, thank all of you guys. Like, seriously, it's just like, thank you. And what goal do I have for the next year to 2 years? My temporary goal would be to hit 5,000 subscribers on the channel, and then my long-term goal, and hopefully within 2 years, would be to hit 10,000. I'm not a numbers guy though, you know me, I don't really care too much about the numbers and stuff, but you know, in the back of my head, it's one of those things where it's like, if we could hit that, you know, actually hit like 5 digits of subscribers, I mean, that'd be pretty cool, just because then, you know, it's just more lovely faces in the community, you know? When it comes to numbers and stuff, I don't care about the number itself, I care about what that number resembles, and that's a bunch of beautiful faces and wonderful people inside of the Grotesque community. The next question comes from Ryan Revengeance, who asks, how often do you replay Demon's Souls? At least once a year, but typically upwards of 2 times a year. Usually when I do it, it depends. Usually I alternate. So like one time I'll play the PS3 version, the next time I'll play the PS5 version, just because I love both games for their own reasons, and they feel distinct enough just due to the very, distinct differences in the art style to where it almost feels like two completely different games while still being the same games at their core when I play them. So yeah, 1 to 2 times a year. And then the final questions from the Discord server, the first one coming from What the Flip Man again, who says, sorry if 3 is too many, but do you prefer the old Modern Warfare series or the new one? I honestly like both for their own reasons, so it's hard to say which one I would prefer because the new ones is going for their own thing and is definitely a bit more outlandish, especially with like Modern Warfare 3 specifically with some of the modes and things that they've added to the game. Whereas, the original ones still felt a bit more grounded, but there was also still some goofier elements at play just due to the community and a lot of the things at the time. So for nostalgia's sake, I would say that I have a lot more nostalgia for the original series, obviously, and when it comes to, like, which one I'd rather boot up and play at the moment if I'm just trying to kick back and chillax, I'd probably say the original one, just because, obviously, there's no SBMM in those, but, at the same time, it's not like the SBMM in the new games even comes close to ruining for me, and I still have a lot of fun playing those games, so really, it could go either way, just depending on what mood I'm in, but when it comes to which one I'd rather kick back and play and chill at any time without having to worry about, like, sweat my butt off in MW3, for example, then probably the older one, especially because there's other modes in the game outside of just multiplayer, like survival and stuff, which, don't get me wrong, the new Modern Warfare games also have their own modes, like MW3 also having zombies, but, like, man, survival and, like, the original MW3... it's still so much fun, and obviously there's a lot of nostalgia there for me too. And the last Discord question comes from Pixter4900, who says, do you prefer Black Ops or Modern Warfare? Similar to the last question, it's hard to say which one I prefer because they're so different for their own reasons, but when it comes to each series, well, I'll just put it like this. Black Ops 2 is my favorite Call of Duty of all time, so I guess by proxy that would mean that the Black Ops series is technically my favorite. It just comes down to the fact that it's the overall package of everything that I love about Call of Duty. Round-based zombies, multiplayer, and amazing campaigns. So, it's one of those things where I love the campaigns and multiplayer in Modern Warfare, obviously, but the Black Ops series also has zombies, which automatically just gives it that leg up of like, hey, here's an extra mode that you also love in Call of Duty. So, by proxy, yeah, I guess I would have to say that the Black Ops games. I realize we're going at a bit of a quicker pace than usual here. It's just one of those things where I spent a lot of time going in depth with the first couple questions to where I didn't even realize how long I had already been recording for, so I apologize for that. I'm a rambler. I like to ramble about things and go needlessly in depth about a lot of things that I talk about. But now moving over to the YouTube questions, the first one coming from Jonathan Cano 857. I'm sorry if these aren't like the actual usernames that you would see. It's just all I see is the handle where it says like at so I'm just kind of read like the at handles. But they ask, you think it's still worth to grind for Eerie camo, and if by that you mean iridescent and ranked in Modern Warfare 3? I would say no. Not only is Modern Warfare 3's life cycle already almost over, but right now it is infested with cheaters. So yeah, and you have to get up to like such a high point in the ranked league to even be able to unlock the camo. So right now, until the cheaters are taken care of and a huge ban wave goes out, I would say that no, it is not worth grinding for Eerie camo at the moment. The next question comes from Miggle Q Smith, who asks, are you a smart socks guy or a heated socks kind of guy? Or are you one of those weirdos that likes tabby socks? There's heated okay, so there's smart socks, there's heated socks. What's a tabby sock? I never knew that there was actually different kinds of socks like that. Like, see me, I go to Walmart and I pay $5 for a pack of those really cheap socks that, like, barely even stay together for a month, but you buy them anyway because they're cheap. So, I have to do my research now. I mean, if I had to choose any, I would probably say heated socks just because smart socks. Dog, like, I'm one of those people, I still have a basic fridge with a handle. I don't need a fridge with, like, a touch screen and everything like that. Why does everything need to be smart? Is my toilet gonna be smart one day? Is there gonna be a screen on it? Is it gonna talk to me when I sit down to drop a deuce? There's already so much smart technology in the world, I don't need smart socks. But if that's, I'm gonna have to look into that now to see if that's real, but I'd probably say heated socks. I do live in Florida, but sometimes the winters can get cold, so heated socks would probably be nice for that. The next question comes from my sister, who asks, when you get older and if you get a cat, what is the name going to be? What type of cat is it going to be? So I actually don't plan to get a cat. I mean, I am a cat guy, but I don't know. I don't want pets. I have hard enough of a time keeping up after myself and taking care of myself. It already takes all my energy to do that. But if I had to choose a type of cat, I actually don't know, like, breeds of cats, but it would probably be, like, I don't know, some sort of, like, either like a gray cat or like a dirty blonde cat, if you know what I mean. I don't know what the actual, like, what would it be called? Not species, but breed, is that the word? Yeah, I don't know what kind of breed those technically would be. And if I were to name it, it would probably be something basic. Like, if I got a white cat, I'd probably name it Marshmallow. And then if I got, like, I don't know, like a dirty blonde cat, I don't know. I might name, if I got a boy, I'd probably name it Leon. In general, I'm just terrible with names, so I'm not exactly sure. It's just one of those things where I'd have to look at it and be like, all right, I'm gonna look at you for a couple minutes, and then I'll decide what your name is, just based on how you move, how you act, and what kind of energy you give off. The next question comes from Keone6711, who asks, digital or physical copy? Love the vids, bro. Thank you. Physical copy all the way. I like actually owning my games, and when you buy digitally, you aren't buying the game, you're buying a license to the game that the console holders, the publishers of the game, whoever that you purchased it from, can take it away from you at any time, whereas physical media, you actually own that forever. So, yeah, physical media all the way. I will never be a digital guy. If a digital game's on sale for $2 and it's like so much more expensive physically, then sure, maybe that's the one time where it's like, okay, I'll buy something digitally, but even then, I'll look for a physical copy down the line, because digital is just, again, I like actually owning my stuff. And the final question comes from my mother, who asks, what is your goal for the upcoming year that you would like to accomplish? Wow, see, that would probably just kind of be sort of in line with what I answered to Lilithix's question about just, you know, wanting to continue to grow the channel, keep working on content and stuff like that. So honestly, that's kind of just where I'm at, right? Like, I just kind of want to stay consistent. I also just kind of want to work on distancing myself even further from any and all toxicity that I can, whether that be in my personal life or online in general, which I've been doing a much better job of. It's gotten to a point of where I used to at least watch YouTube and stuff, but I was just kind of off of social media, but now I kind of just stopped watching YouTube too. Just being online just really toxic and isn't good for me. Obviously, I'll always make videos every single day because this is what I love to do, and I'll always interact with you guys because that's what I love to do, even if that does mean going online, just because it's completely different. Talking to you guys, I actually like doing that, but you know, just, yeah, I don't know what it is. Just being online, whether it's watching YouTube, seeing all the negative thumbnails and titles or posts on social media, it's too much for me. So I guess my goal would just to be to distance myself even further from the internet and just kind of live more in the moment and not online, you know what I mean? I mean, it's, again, it's kind of hard to quantify what that means for me personally, because I'll always be online, you know, playing online multiplayer video games, or just being online with video games in general, or making content, but I guess when I say not be online as much, I just mean in the sense of, like, being on, like, Instagram or looking at negative stuff on YouTube or other things similar to that, just social media related. And furthermore, as I said before, just working on expunging more of the toxicity from my personal life, because you know, no matter how hard you try to do it, no matter how much toxicity you expunge, there will always be somebody or something toxic still around. So, you know, there's always work to do in that regard in anybody's life. But anyways, that is all the questions that I got for this Q&A. Again, I'm sorry for kind of having to speak through the second half of those, but I didn't realize that I was already almost 20 minutes into recording. Obviously, editing, it'll be a lot shorter for you guys, but at that point, it was already almost like 20 minutes into recording after only answering a few questions, so I knew I kind of had to pick up the pace a bit. I'm sorry. I have a really bad rambling problem. I can't help it. But anyway, as I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to be featured in the next one, either just keep your eyes posted on the community tab or join the Discord server. But anyway, as always, mass shout out thanking all the Patreons and channel members taking it all in the low ball tier, and shout out thanking all the big ball tier. I'm asking daddy many of this shit on G tier, run events on the cheese. Thank you guys so much, guys. You're literal legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. An amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.